So the ban is suspended announcement dropped a bit over a day ago, and with changes to both formats, there's certainly a lot going on. As such, I decided to break the review discussion up into 2 videos, one on CC and one on Blitz. So in the second part of our BNS recap chat, it's time to discuss the impact of those changes to the Blitz format. So tonight we're talking the Blitz-relevant changes from the April 25th update to the BNS list, and I'm giving my take not just from an overall competitive meta standpoint, but also my take on how this impacts the trickle down to our locals, albeit definitely a lot harder to nail down with any certainty in Blitz. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Thank you very much for tuning in back here today. I'm Andy with you here as always, and that's right, we are talking the second half of the BNS chat right now. Keep in mind, I'm not going to read stuff to you, right? That's, you guys can read. I know you all know what's going on. I just want to talk about it in terms of how it's going to look for Blitz. How it's going to look for Blitz. Now, I also do want to note, yes, it was like 24 hours ago when this came out, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that came out today. Awesome stuff, Volcor stuff, dragons, right? Not ignoring that. But this is still pretty important, right? So yeah, let's get through this, and then we can talk Icelander and all that other stuff later. So before we get started, I do want to acknowledge our sponsor, FabDB. Thank you guys very much. You guys know them. You guys love them. The best resource for all of us Flesh and Blood players on the interwebs, collection management, deck building. When you're over there, because you're going to be with all this new deck building we've got on our plate, go ahead and consider upgrading your account to unlock all those additional features. Thank you to the awesome guys over at FabDB. So you guys will notice we went with the small thing. I figured it was only fair to honor all this right here because he's been LL'd, right? I mean, that's the big news. I mean, that's the biggest, certainly the biggest impact. But there's a lot going on here, right? So as I said, I don't plan on reading it to you. You guys can read, and there's plenty of other videos that have done the recap. So instead, let's just kind of go point by point here and talk about stuff. And you know, I do expect this to be a longer video than the CC version. It's not that there's more stuff. It's that I think there's more stuff to discuss about it, right? So the CC meta I think is relatively straightforward. With at least this is how we think it's going to go. A lot of chatter about that. Blitz is a little more chaotic, right? So there's real impacts there. You also need to remember that there's some other things to consider about Blitz as a format altogether, because it's the entry format, right? I mean, yes, we have Commoner now and all that, but in terms of going to armories and stuff, this is the entry format. So some of these changes today are big. So let's get into them instead of talking about them in theory. So yeah, Viserai, he did. He took Nebula Blade with him, which is dumb. I think that's dumb, but you know what? From a flavor standpoint, Viserai has retired over the great runechant hills of Wrathe, riding on a runechant or something and taking with him the Nebula Blade as he throws the Rosetta Thorn across to Chane or something, right? Whatever. All right, other changes, right? Awakening Band in all formats. I mean, I think that just makes sense. I don't know that Awakening was as impactful as it was in CC. Well, it might have been more impactful, but harder to pull off. Maybe, I don't know. Either way, it's dead. So that impacts Oldhim, right? Because there is no Starvo, right? So it impacts Oldhim straight up. Oldham's, I made the wrong call on that. Oldhim is good in the formats. I still don't understand how, but no, I mean, I do. It just feels like stalling shouldn't be a thing in Blitz, but I get it. You're setting up for your thing. And then Heart and Cross Strap. So this one is, the argument here is that Cross Strap sets up too many OTK turns, which is fair, right? I get it, right? There's the Rhinar ZTK deck or Rhinar OTK type decks where you're trying to do the same thing. Cross Strap's a great budget alternative for Dash, right? If you don't have the Teklo Heart, use it in Azalea even. It's great. But taking it away, like, to be clear, I understand the argument that it obviously what you're hopefully getting from this is I really think that's a bad idea. So I get it, right? I do get it. They're right. The 2 resources on pop does facilitate a lot of stuff. But I think, I don't know, it just kind of feels bad to, I mean, I guess if it feels, you get it and it feels bad being a new player, but on the other hand, you're not getting OTK. So, yeah, fair. 6 one way, half a dozen the other. It just, Heart and Cross Strap's been kind of a, like it's always kind of been there. Like I don't have a Tunic, so I've always played it in certain decks. And kind of a, that's kind of a bummer to see an OG card like that. I mean, how many of us played with Heart and Cross Strap at some point? Like, I think all of us, right? Whether it be in draft or whether it be in some deck while you were getting the thing you needed. So, but anyway, I mean, it's probably fair to do it. I think it hits the brutes really, really hard. Like really hard, because that's kind of their only play, is trying to, I mean, it's not their only play, but like it's kind of their thing, right? It's like their bailout if you don't have a pitch card. That really hurts the brutes, probably more than anybody, because Dash, I talked about Dash. Dash can run the vest, right? Because you're boosting, and then boost into your max velocity or your payload or whatever it may be. You can absolutely do that. I mean, alternatively, I'm a little surprised that, I'm not surprised because to be clear, I'm not advocating for this, but like, what about Goliath Gauntlets? Like Goliath Gauntlets adding 2 to something it's not effectively the same as getting 2 free resources, but you understand where I'm going with this, right? It's like Cross Strap is generally Cross Strap is just as much of a strategy in the OTK as Goliath Gauntlets is. So why not both, right? I think that's a fair question. To be clear here, I'm not advocating for Goliath Gauntlets getting killed, but I am saying that like Cross Strap and Gauntlets basically always played together in most cases for that end. So like, why not? So anyway, I get it. I mean, obviously I'm not saying either that they're going to go back and do Tunic. I'm not saying that at all. But like, if that's really the thing, is they're like, we want it to take 3 turns for that, then okay. I mean, I can get, if that's what they want their curve to be, is 3 turns versus a game being over in 3 turns, right? But if that's if that ends up really being the truth root of the argument is, well, no one's playing Tunic because everything's done in 3 turns. I mean, it seems like there's a lot better ways to fix it. And to be clear, I'm not saying that's what happened here, but you do have to kind of follow that logic a little bit, right? In that, like, no one's playing Tunic because it's too slow. I mean, maybe it's a format. Like, maybe you have a format problem and not a equipment problem. I mean, whatever. So next, moving on, Seas of Agony follows. That's fine. That makes sense. It follows. It'll come back when Chane goes away, and then whatever will happen on the next Shadow Runeblade. Dude, the hits to Kano. Be clear, I don't personally have a problem with that. I think that, the disgustingness that, it's so, Kano's not a problem. Let's be very clear. He's not a problem from like a meta standpoint, right? But when he goes off and can just go off, because you can, like that's the big complaint right now again with Starvo is like, well, sometimes you just draw good and then there's nothing you can do about it. And like, well, that's kind of Wizard. And granted, there are, 5 or 6 other decks that can do the same thing in Blitz. So again, I'm not attacking you Wizard guys here. That said, that's a feel bad when it goes off. You have to agree to that. That said, I think they hit him pretty hard. Like losing Snapback and then Stir the Ether, losing Stir. I mean, to the end where they're trying to stop him from going off and having nothing you can do about it is completely fair. I get that. But that's rough, dude. Like, that's pretty rough. I mean, the main problem with, you guys get it, right? The main problem with an Arcane Wizard or an Arcane-based deck being able to deal that much damage is you only, especially in one shot, right? I'm not talking rune chance or something here, right? In one shot is, you have AB, maybe AB4, maybe, probably AB2, right? I think is what most people, well, I mean, you'd switch out on the wizard matchups, fair enough, you're doing AB3. Right? But like most people are AB3. So, whereas like any other attack, you'd in theory be able to block anywhere between 8 to 12, right? Or maybe you get an answer, but you get the point, right? So, I mean, there's another 6 to 8 points there on the table, but he starts with 15 less health, which is supposed to kind of account for that. So, again, I'm not really pro or anti. I'm just saying I get it. I get it. It does kind of do some feel bad type stuff. So, this next one I'm upset about. And it's not, so Sonata Arcanix is suspended it's just until season 5, right? It's not based on a hero. It's not based on nothing. So they're just saying Sonata is too good. Basically. Well, I mean, I guess actually I'm seeing that now. It's consistent with the wording on the Kano impact stuff, and actually I guess neither one of those are actually necessarily Kano anymore because we do have Icelander, which, fine. Okay, I grant you that. So they're keeping it off of both of them. I haven't seen Icelander going off on anybody, but we'll have the next set out before the next skirmish season, so they've got him carrying through. But aside, right? If you know all these cards, they're clearly okay. I'm like taking 2 jumps here, right? But they're clearly targeting Kano on this, because if they were targeting Icelander on this, shouldn't they be taking the steps already before Icelander is formally released in her package, right? Before her package is released in this next set? I mean, you should, instead of just killing old stuff to set up the new stuff. But I don't know that that's necessarily what's happening here. I'm just kind of talking out loud. So, all right, anyway, back to Sonata, right? So Sonata, it's not that I think Sonata is a good thing, right? Sonata, their explanation below is they're like, Sonata basically is 5% of your health for no cost. I'm like, well, so's a bunch of other stuff, right? And like, I'm not upset about Sonata. I'm upset that Revel and Runeblade is not on here. And upset, I'm not like upset, right? But like, that's my issue here is Revel and Runeblade is far worse than Sonata Arcanix in this format, right? So, I don't know, kids. Like, that one's weird to me. Now, this next one, Stubby Hammers, this is actually an exciting one. So, Stubby's going away. It's not like it was making huge waves, but they basically said that it's because, let's be honest, we all saw the stuff that came out today. It's like, because the Fire Ninja gonna done murder you. That's basically what it says, right? Like, with some upcoming, fine, let's scroll down to it and read it, because it basically says it, right? So, Stubby Hammers, an innocuous card, hasn't done much today outside of being a strong card. As we discover a new and exciting design space over time, sometimes causes old cards. Stubby Hammers is a start-and-play combo piece that enables an OTK deck to function at a level of consistency above what we think is good for the game in the next set. In support of our general goal of curbing the power level of decks away from killing an opponent within the first 3 turns, we are preemptively banning Stubby Hammers. So, there's a lot going on there because we know the Fire Ninja is coming. Stubby Hammers obviously works with low base cost stuff. So, in theory, you pair those two, and I'm saying Fire, Draconic, whatever. The new Ninja, sorry, right? You can correct me in the comments, it's fine. We all know what we're talking about, right? Very clearly, there's going to be some, like, as I hit, the hits get stronger, right? It's going to be low hits. That's got to be what's happening here. Is it's going to be a bunch of small hits that get stronger over time, and Stubby gives them all a +1, right? So, that one's pretty clear. I don't think really anybody's got a problem with that concept, but it's funny. Like, you got to admit that's kind of funny, right? So, but that's how it goes. So, yeah, I don't know. I think so talking meta here, right? So, Oldhim, I don't think changes much. Kassai, with Viserai going away, Kassai's happy with that. Kassai, yeah, I had a hard time. Everybody had a hard time with Viserai, obviously, which is why he's going out, right? But I don't have as much with the way I play because I haven't had as much trouble with Oldhim. It's not fun to play against, right? But like I can get her done. But Viserai was a really bad matchup, right? So I think Kassai is happy about this. I mean, Oldham's going to be happy about it too, for sure. I'm curious how much, because a lot of the brutes, and actually the brutes, now that I think, a lot of the brutes played strapping. So maybe my statement around cross strap wasn't as fair. I mean, it's still, if you're playing that, yeah, maybe. No, I think, because I know that strapping could block, but I think I saw, well, I know that I saw a lot of people playing cross strap. So, and I know you can play strapping, so maybe it's not as bad. You still got to roll and hope. So, yeah. Yeah, maybe brute stays about the same, actually. I was thinking they took a hard hit from that. Or I think they took a hit from that. It might not be as hard as I'm thinking. But so I think Kassai is at the top. I think Oldhim stays at the top. I think brute keeps doing its thing, right? Where it sometimes can just intimidate, or it can sometimes just roll 5s and 6s. I mean, that's brute. That's fine. I think that most people have figured out how to play against Benji now, for the most part, in terms of sideboarding. So I think he stays as that disruptor in like the tier 1-5, tier 2, probably tier 2. What else? Yeah, I think that's about it. And to the point is like, well, why are you worried about Revel and Runeblood if Viserai's gone? And that's a fair point, right? It is a fair point, but Chane can still do it, right? So you have all these new tools for Chane. So I think Chane, it's not that necessarily Chane got better, but I think you're going to have a lot of stuff move into the Chane area. So maybe Chane, actually, that's probably it. From a local stand, right? From a global tier standpoint, I don't think Chane moves much. But do you see him more at your locals? Probably, right? Probably, because people can pick up and move a lot of their stuff that they were. Yeah, I think so. I think that's a fair statement. Let me know if you agree, if you disagree on Chane. I think probably at your locals you do see more of that. I wouldn't be surprised if we also see more people kind of swing into Ninja a little bit. And I don't mean Benji, like maybe like the Ira probably. You see, I bet you see Ira pick up as well with the people moving, within your locals. I'm saying within people. That's kind of what I would suspect, but it's probably going to be Chane and Ira mostly is where people are going to be moving. Not necessarily Ira for the cards, but kind of Ira with the I like to stay consistent and hit thing. That's probably what I would think, but we also know that the price of Mask of Momentum shot through the roof today, so that's a relevant discussion as well in how many people will play Ira. So anyway, that's very interesting. So let me know what you guys are thinking about. Yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking. How many of you out there were playing Viserai in Blitz? Nobody can blame you because he was freaking disgusting, right? Like nobody can blame you at all. So what are you looking to move into? Are you just going to completely swap classes, go Kassai or Oldhim or something like that? Or are you going to try to make Chane work or something? Rosetta's still really good. Do note that, according to this, right, your Skeleta is still viable. I know most chains play, especially in Blitz, most chains play the Husk. But, Skeleta. Oh, sorry about that, folks. So, man, what a way to make yourself lose a train of thought there. So, anyway, we were talking, where people go and what you were thinking. So, the other thing here is it's interesting with the way that you think about it, right? My Kassai packs a bunch of blues that she doesn't necessarily need because I'm trying to be ready for Wizard and I'm trying to be ready for Viserai, right? And with those two out, maybe Kano's not out. Stir's pretty big, but yeah, I think you still, because you don't have sideboarding, right, for your deck cards. You don't have sideboarding. So I think you still basically have to pack. The question I'm floating in my head right now is do decks need, maybe they can run a little lower curve now? I guess so, but I don't think you run much lower of a curve, right? So, but I mean, and that's part of the hard part in Blitz is you have to be built for relatively anything because relatively anything could come at you, right? So yeah. So anyway, let me know what you guys are thinking as well. I guess this didn't actually take, necessarily as long as I thought. I thought there'd be a little more discussion in my head around Sonata and Skeleta and Rebel and Runeblood, but I do think that's kind of the rest of this seems to make sense. Cross drop's a bummer. I do question the Goliath Gauntlets. But with the rest of it, I don't understand. Like, don't we think, I'll just say it. Don't we think Revel and Runeblood's too good for Blitz? Like, just the value that one card gives is just too good, I think. Let me know. Do you agree? Should Revel and Runeblood be on this list? Because I think it should be. So let me know if you agree. Let me know if you don't. So anyway, I think that'll do it. I think that'll wrap us up. So let me know what else you folks are thinking about everything going on in the Flesh and Blood world right now, but specifically to this with Viserai going away in Blitz. That's sad for a lot of my boys who've been playing Viserai for a long time, but then I guess I got to be happy to see him be good. So fair enough. And what are you going to be playing? And just everything about it. So let me know, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Super exciting time to be in Fab Player right now. That is for sure. With 2.0 and everything coming, it's going to be awesome. So anyway, folks, let me know what you're thinking. If nothing else, go Commando.